Desktop Basics. In this video, we're going to talk about the general layout of the desktop. On campus, we are using Windows 10. So you turn your computer on and then it comes up to this screen. You have to put your email address and your password in and it logs you into the system. The first screen that you see once you've logged in is Grays Harbor College logo with the words Grays Harbor College. It's a dark blue screen, and that's your desktop. That is your desktop background. That picture is the desktop background. And if we think about the concept of an actual physical desk, it matches that of the desktop on a computer. So an actual physical desk, we would put our paper and we'd put our books and we would write, or we would do things. We would color, we would draw a picture. With the desktop on the computer, it's kind of the same thing. We would open a program and we would start to type, or we would open a program and we'd create a picture. So that is your primary work area, and it hasn't really changed over the course of the operating systems from Windows 95 up. The desktop has virtually stayed the same. They've added some things, they've taken a couple of things away, but mostly it's stayed the same. So let's take a look at the components of the desktop. So we've already talked a little bit about the background. So you'll see my background is a Seahawks logo, and I've color coordinated the background color to the Seahawks green. Go Hawks! They won Sunday. I was pretty happy with that. But this is my background for my desktop because it makes me happy. Well, most days it makes me happy. When they don't win, it doesn't make me happy. But I like to look at this. So your desktop background can be anything. It can be a picture of your cats. It can be a picture of your dogs. It can be a picture of your cats and dogs, or your kids or your grandkids. Or let's say you went to the beach last weekend and you took a fabulous picture of the sunset. That can be your desktop background. You can customize these to fit your wants, make it a little bit more enjoyable for you and your computing experience. And we use the control panel to do that, and we'll get into that in a later video. So on top of the background, we have some icons. And icons are throughout the computer. Icons are everywhere. These are desktop icons. These icons are indicating that we have shortcuts, or we have files and folders on the desktop. And we can tell when we have a shortcut using this little arrow that's pointing to the right, or when we have a folder that's being stored on the desktop. And an icon is just a little picture that represents something else. And like I said, they're used all the way through the operating system. You're going to see icons in your email. You're going to see icons in the browsers. You're going to see icons on the taskbar. You're going to see icons when you're searching for files. So there's going to be icons everywhere, and they're just little pictures. So back to a shortcut. This is telling me that this is a shortcut to the program Adobe Reader DC. If I right click on this and I go to properties, and remember we talked about right clicking brings up a contextual menu, and we go to properties, this is going to tell me where this file is located. So it tells me my target is here. This is a path, and we'll get to that in file management, but I just wanted to show you that it goes through all of these folders to get to this last little file, and that's what it's opening up when you double click on it. So these are all shortcuts. If I double click on Google Chrome is going to open up for me. A little screen tip pops up and says this is how you access the internet. And Google Chrome open. So here's Google Chrome. I don't use Google Chrome very frequently, but this is one of the web browsers that our college suggests that you use because we've tested it with Canvas. I use Firefox and haven't had any issues with it. You'll see that it needs to be set as the default because it's not, and I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and close. But that's how you open something up using a desktop icon. Now we talked about this little arrow which indicates it's a shortcut, which is good. And this is actually a folder that has files in it that is stored on my desktop. I don't suggest doing this because the more things that you're storing on your desktop, the slower your machine is going to become. When the machine boots, remember it puts all these files into the random access memory, right? And then that can slow down your boot times. If you have a lot of things on your desktop, which is just a folder, the desktop is just a folder, and when you load that, all those things go into your random access memory, which can cause a machine to be slow. So, you know, I would not store a lot of things on the desktop that way because it can cause problems. Anyway, you don't want to store it for a long-term solution. If you're downloading something and you need to save it to your desktop so you can find it very quickly, that's one thing, but once you're done with that file, you need to do something with it. Either delete it or move it to a different section of your hard drive, into a different folder in your documents or downloads or something along those lines. So those are icons on the desktop. They need to be clicked twice to make them activate, to make them actually go out and take a look at that target and open that program up. Okay. Then at the bottom of the screen we have the taskbar, and the taskbar really hasn't changed that much over the course of time. From Windows 95 to Windows 98 to 2000 and Millennium, Windows NT, Windows XP, Vista, and 7, they all have major components: the start button, the pinned program / open program area, and the notification area. The notification area used to be called the sys tray. You can still call it the sys tray. It's the same thing. But they've added a couple of things with Windows 10. Actually, they've not really added it. They just kind of moved things around. So if we come over here and take a look at what the Windows Start button brought up in Windows 7, we can take a look at this. This is what it looked like in Windows 7. So these were pinned. These are recently used. This is all programs. Here is our search box. It allows us to search for different things. And then we have a static side here that we can change, but you have to go into the settings to do it. But you can get to your documents, your pictures, your music, games, computer, control panel, devices, and printers. You can shut the machine down, or you could use the options here. So that's what the Windows 7, Windows Vista, Windows XP start menu looked like. With Windows 10, they've changed it up just a little bit. So if we click this, this is what the start menu looks like. So instead of having an all programs button, we just see it over here on the left-hand side. These are all the programs that are currently installed on the computer. We have a scroll box that we can use to scroll up and down. They are, we have them recently added, most used, suggested, and then it goes alphabetically. So then we have A, C, E, F, and so on and so forth. So that kind of has been made a little easier for us. They took the search off of the start menu and they placed it on the taskbar. So I'm going to go ahead and click in there. And this is our personal assistant. She's called Cortana. You can also use it just to search things. So we'll just kind of demonstrate Cortana here. I'm going to go ahead and click this button, which indicates we're going to turn the microphone on, and she's going to listen for what we have to say. What's the weather like today?
The forecast shows thunderstorms with a high of 60 and a low of 48.
So here, when I said, what's the weather like today, you can see that she was listening And so I dictated to her and she typed it out. And then she came up and she said, this is what the weather is like. Now it came up to Tukwila because my computer is pulling an IP address from Tukwila. I have not customized this machine for Windows 10 at all to tell it I'm in Aberdeen instead. So that's why it did that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to click here and search. And then I'm going to type in the control panel. Okay, so when I type something, here I have the control panel. I can go into a program if I'm not exactly sure where it's at. I could type the program in, it will bring it up for me. And then I can click it and it will open the program. I can also search for files and folders. So if I type in welcome, let's see, welcome to Computer Basics, here is the folder that I have stored on my desktop. So it will also search for files and folders as well. Okay. I use that feature a lot, the searching. I just hate looking for things, so I'll just search it up. The next little icon, this is called our task view. So this is if we have multiple programs open. And I'll just go here. Come on, open up. See, I've got my hourglass. There we go. So now I've got some programs open and I want to switch between, I don't want to be in Firefox. I want to switch between and go to my File Explorer. I can come over here and I can click my File Explorer and it'll pop it forward. It will be the active window at that point. And how do I know it's the active window? Typically the active window is going to be on top, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that that's the active window. If I take a look at my taskbar, you can see these lines underneath each one of these icons. Okay, these are pinned programs. Okay, and so you can see these lines underneath, and that tells me that the program is open. This one is lit. You can see that it's got a lit box around it, and that means that this is actually the active window. You can have as many windows open as you want, but you can only work in one actively at a time. So you can only have one active window. If I come over here to Firefox, I have two different windows, okay? So it pops up, this is the Aero Live Preview. It pops up, I don't think those work at the college though. They'll work on your computer, but they won't work at the college, I don't think. But you can see, you can say, okay, well this one has Google open and this one has MSN open. So I can click on which one I want. Actually, they both have just the same thing, but I just wanted to show you that they pop up that way. And if I hold my cursor over this one, it comes up and shows me the calculator, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and minimize these, or actually close them, excuse me, and close this one. So these are all pinned, and what I've done is I've pinned those to the taskbar because I use them frequently. And then let's say I open up one that's not pinned, and it's going to come over here on the right-hand side. So this is pinned programs / open programs area of the taskbar. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Then on the far right side, we have the notification area. It used to be called the sys tray. Now the notification area is the normal name for it. We have an arrow that points up. If we hold our cursor over it, the screen tip shows us that this is to show hidden icons. If I click on this, it shows me hidden icons. It shows me things that are running in the background that aren't being shown here. Okay, so this is hidden. These are shown. So this is telling me that there's no battery detected. Yes, I know. It's a very old computer. The battery died like a year after I got it, and I never replaced it. It just always gets plugged in. This is my sound. It's telling me 100%. And this is telling me that I'm connected to my internet. So at campus, you'll see an icon that looks like this. This means that the computer is actually physically plugged into a network connection. If you have a wireless connection, you'll see something that looks like this. So this is the Wi-Fi symbol. Okay, this is telling you have a wireless connection versus having a landline or I'm sorry, plug-in connection, a hardwire connection. Then we have the time and date. If I click this, a calendar pops up. I can advance to the next month by using the down arrow, or I could go back up to a previous month by using the up arrow. We can access this via the control panel and make changes to it if we need to. On campus you can't do that, but on your own computer you can. This is our notification area. So if I click on this, I don't have any new notifications because I've opened it up, but I haven't cleared any of the notifications out. I've got a couple of emails that have come in. It tells me that my Skype has been updated. I have some tips. It tells me that I have 2 copies of a file on OneDrive. Am I sure I want to keep that? What have you. And then here on the far right hand side, this is the show desktop button. So if I have multiple things open, I'll go ahead and open up some of these programs again. And I just want to get back to my desktop very quickly. I can click the show desktop button and it just minimizes everything. Okay, so it takes everything down to the taskbar and then I can see my desktop again. So I could open up another file that I have on here, or I could open up a folder that I have on there. So that's the desktop in a nutshell. So we've kind of gone through all the components. We will go a little further into the taskbar and the start menu in another video. If you have any questions, be sure to contact me or your instructor. I'm melissa.lenz@ghc.edu, and thank you for joining me.